Good afternoon. A warm welcome to all of you to the webinar series hosted by Advocates Association Bengaluru. We have with us today Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay Shreeniwas Oka, Chief Justice, High Court of Karnataka. My lords, we are honored and blessed to have your lordships with us today. Welcome to the webinar. May I now request Shri A.P. Ranganatha, President, Advocates Association Bengaluru, to deliver the welcome address.
Namaste. Honorable Shri Abhay Shreeniwas Oka, Chief Justice, High Court of Karnataka, Honorable Judges of our High Court, Judicial Officers, Shri Anil Kumar, Karnataka State Bar Council Chairman, M.B. Nargun, Additional Solicitor General, and our designated Senior Counsel D.L.N. Rao, Senior Advocates, Advocate friends, students, and Gangadraya, our General Secretary, Shivmurthy, Treasurer, and Governing Council members of Advocate Association Bengaluru. It gives me immense pleasure to inform that Advocate Association Bengaluru started this webinar series on 31st May 2020, which was inaugurated by His Lordship Honorable Chief Justice, has today achieved a great feat by touching a milestone of 150th webinar. Through this webinar series, we attempt to bring to you the views of legal luminaries and jurists on various aspects of law, judiciary, the justice dispensation system, and governance. In this endeavor, we could get 38 honorable judges, including from various high courts and Honorable Supreme Court of India, 31 senior advocates, 82 advocate friends, 8 academicians, 5 others, including a renowned cardiologist, IPS officer, Commission, Vice Chancellor. I believe that this webinar series have been beneficial to the legal fraternity. It's again a matter of pride and privilege that this milestone session of our webinar series is addressed by our Honorable Chief Justice. This will be a continuous learning process. During this tough time of pandemic, when several young advocates were severe financial distress, AAB started to help them and felt it was crucial time to keep up their morale at the same time. Therefore, through this forum, 45 budding advocates were given opportunity to present and fluent their knowledge and talent. I personally want to ensure that this process will continue to groom young advocates who are going to be the future of this system. His Lordship, in between his busy schedule, has accepted our invite and is here to enlighten the participant through his as usual erudite oratory skill. The topic his Lordship has chosen is very vital and critical, especially when law graduates are joining corporate and not showing keen interest in practice or joining judicial system. Without young lawyers, the judicial system may not be able to progress much. As rightly quoted by D.V. Gundappa, a renowned Kannada poet, Hale Beru, Vasa Chiguru, Kudiralu Marasobagu, the energy and innovation of young lawyers with knowledge and expertise of seniors should get merged to have an effective judicial system. Before that, I would like to extend a warm welcome to His Lordship. I also like to welcome all other participants. Namaskara.
Thank you, sir, for that warm welcome. I would like to make a small mention. The Q&A box is active. You may put forth your questions. Selected questions will be taken up. Sir, Uday Holla sir ಕೂಡ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇವಾಗ.
ಉದಯ ಹೊಳ್ಳ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತೇನೆ.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
Over to your lordships.
Good afternoon. President of the Bar, Mr. Ranganath, office bearers of the bar, distinguished senior advocates, members of the bar, my esteemed colleagues, and young lawyers. Today, I'm not going to discuss any law. As you can see from the subject, I want to have a dialogue with young advocates. When I mean young advocates, I must tell you that I'm addressing the lawyers who are not more than 5 years old in profession. At the outset, I must acknowledge effort made by the Bar Association. This is 150th webinar. The Bar Association has used the period of pandemic very constructively by arranging these webinars. There are senior advocates who are present here, not only in this state, but in all states. There was a wide perception that during last 10 to 15 years, there are no takers for seminars. No one is interested in hearing lectures. But during this pandemic, I have seen 3,000, 4,000 lawyers joining webinars arranged by various bar associations and various organizations. 150 webinars is a great achievement. And I hope that this activity continues in some form or other. Now I come to my young friends in the bar. When I joined law course 40 years back, the concept of legal education was completely different. I was fortunate enough to secure admission in Government Law College in Mumbai, which is the oldest law college and one of the most prestigious law colleges our country has. But the concept of law course was different. In those days, we never imagined a full-time law degree course because all courses were part-time courses. At least in Mumbai and other major cities of Maharashtra, all law colleges used to run these part-time courses either in the morning or in the evening. Only the government law college had an afternoon batch, and daily training consisted of maximum 2 lectures. Those were the days when there were hardly any moot court competitions. If I remember correctly, there were hardly 1 or 2 moot court competitions every year, every academic year. And the form of moot court competitions was very primitive. The emphasis was on testing the skills of elocution. And in those days, there was a demand for full-time law courses. But that demand was always opposed by all stakeholders. Only benefit of taking education in government law college was its close proximity to Bombay High Court, its close proximity to Wankhede Stadium and Bombay Hockey Association ground. And one more added advantage was practically next door, there was a huge British Council library, which was open right from morning, which used to be open in those days, right from morning 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock. In those days, when we were in law college, we were aware about only one form of practice or rather 2 forms of practice. One form was practice before the traditional courts. And second form which was prevailing in the city of Mumbai was practice as attorneys in all those firms of the solicitors. Very rarely we heard a phrase corporate lawyer. Very rarely we heard that is something known as chamber practice. So I belong to a generation of lawyers where we firmly believed that real practice is the practice of appearing before the traditional courts, where you have to think on your feet. And that's the most thrilling part of the legal practice, to appear before the court of law, to think on feet. And we were always told by our seniors in those days that this is the real practice. There are many seniors who told us that practice in law, especially in a city like Mumbai, can be converted into a five-star social work. This was a phrase used by a very eminent advocate who later on became judge of the Bombay High Court. The reason was, while you earn handsomely, you could contribute to the society, you could take up legal aid work, you could help poor litigants by working pro bono. Those were the days when the avenues were very limited for the lawyers, limited in the sense that mostly the practice was confined to traditional courts like trial courts, civil courts, criminal courts, district courts, high courts, and there were few tribunals which were in existence under the tax laws. I'm talking about 1983 when I joined profession. Slowly from 1984 onwards, what we call it as tribunalization started. There were tribunals established under the Administrative Tribunals Act, central and state tribunals. Then family courts came, and then a series of laws were passed under which various tribunals were created. Last of it can be said to be National Company Law Tribunal. So I can put it this way, that right from 1985, more and more avenues started becoming available to the members of the legal fraternity. I always say that young lawyers, today's young lawyers, belong to a privileged class. There are more than one reasons for that. One is that almost all of you have taken education in full-time 5 years degree course. Second, now you have so many avenues available for practice. If you don't want to practice before the traditional courts, you can shift your practice to tribunals. Concept of corporate lawyers has emerged. Concept of chamber practice has emerged. There are a lot many lawyers who prefer to sit in the chamber and do conveyancing work. So these avenues have become available to young generation of lawyers. And third and most important is, now preparation of a case has become very easy with the advent of technology. I remember when I started practice, our seniors used to tell us to find case law on a particular topic. Now, finding case law involved not only work of brain, but some physical work also, because you had to go through several commentaries, several digests, by physically pulling out those commentaries and digests. There were many instances where the citation given in the digest or in the commentary used to be wrong. So the first process was going through several textbooks or commentaries, going through several digests, then physically accessing to all those law reports, AIR, Supreme Court, or we used to have local law reports like Maharashtra Law Journal, Bombay Law Reporter, etc. And when I began practice in 1983, even these copying facilities, which we popularly call as Xerox, were not that readily available. So those were the days when lawyers used to come to the court, enter the courtroom with only relevant judgments. The reason was they're physically required to carry those huge volumes of AIR or Supreme Court cases. And therefore, considering the physical effort involved, the lawyers used to rely upon only few judgments. When I started practicing High Court, in 1985, every lawyer, every junior lawyer, or for that matter, every senior lawyer could not afford to have clerks and attendants. So we had a unique scenario with lawyers moving not only with their files through the corridors, but with 2 or 3 law books in each hand. Lawyers running from one court to another with law books in their hand. That was a very regular spectacle which we could see in 1985, 1986. And now the scenario has completely undergone change. Now, at a click of a button, within 5 minutes, you get large number of judgments on one particular point on which you are making a research. It has become very easy now to make a research and to pick up the right precedent which will be applicable to your case. Drafting a plaint or petition has become very easy. Those were the days when our seniors used to tell us not to dictate a plaint or a petition to a stenographer. For first 2 years of practice, we are told that everything has to be written because our seniors believed that that is the only way you can learn drafting properly. I remember I used to prepare drafts of the second appeals under section 100, formulating those substantial questions of law. And my senior used to correct them by hand. And his instructions were not to give it to the typist for typing. His instructions were that I should write down again the corrected draft. Same thing applied to the plaint. The idea was that every junior lawyer must get groomed and his foundation about pleading should be very solid. But now, you young generation of lawyers, you are so lucky that you have those computers, you have those softwares like Dragon, and within a minutes, a young bright lawyer can draft a petition under Article 227 of the Constitution of India, challenging order passed by a trial court or a district court. Of course, it has some drawbacks also, like the young lawyers are tempted to do that cutting pasting job. The second drawback I can see of this use of computers for preparing pleadings is now that pleadings have become very long. Because in my days, we used to write down the pleadings and then stenographers used to type it. And at highest, you could correct 1 or 2 drafts. It was not possible to have 10 or 15 drafts. But now you can keep on correcting your drafts, maybe 10 occasions or 15 occasions. And because of this cutting pasting, now there's a tendency to have very, very long pleadings. But this technology is immensely helpful to these young lawyers. Fourthly, I'm talking about only metropolitan cities. The standard of professional fees has gone up as compared to my practice days, if I remember, right from 1983. The profession has become more lucrative, as they call it. And therefore, I always consider the present generation of young lawyers as a privileged generation. Even in law colleges, you have exposure to all those modern concepts of moot court. There are now mock trials, which are beautifully conducted, mock trial competitions. And I don't say that the education which I received in law college was bad. It was also a good education, but perhaps with advent of these 5-year courses and full-time courses, perhaps the quality of legal education has also improved. Now, what are the challenges before the young lawyers? Now, one challenge in the present day context, a challenge which we never imagined, which the members of the bar will have to face, was in 2020 due to COVID-19. This was the period, we are of course not out of that period. From March 2020, the courts had to be closed down or the work was required to be substantially reduced. That affected the income of the young lawyers. It's not only affecting the income of the young lawyers, maybe it had impact, adverse impact on whatever little confidence young lawyers had about succeeding in the profession. Of course, as your president said, the associations came forward, associations rendered monetary help to the young lawyers. Now, of course, slowly we are trying to resume normalcy in the court. During last 8 months, we have fought with the pandemic. We means we, the members of the legal fraternity, and with the active help and cooperation of the members of the bar, the associations, the bar council, now we are able to improve functioning of the courts substantially. Now people are talking about second wave or COVID-19, third wave of COVID-19. None of us who are present here, we want that second wave or third wave. But I can tell you with some degree of confidence that with our experience of last 8 months and with the active cooperation of the members of the bar, even if there is a second wave, even if there is third wave, I firmly believe that if not 100% normal, but we'll be able to continue substantial work of our courts. In fact, this pandemic has, we have learned a lot of lessons in the pandemic. Therefore, my appeal to the young members of the bar is not to get disheartened because of this devastation caused by COVID-19. Not to get affected, not to have any impact on your confidence. This is only a temporary phase. If you look at the history of the mankind, the last 10 years of 19th century, there are pandemic of plague. There are pandemics in the beginning of the 20th century. In those days, where medical science had not advanced as we have today, but still human beings could overcome all the pandemics. Maybe nature has helped. So therefore, don't worry too much about this pandemic. We'll be shortly out of it. Now, of course, avenues have opened for the young lawyers, some kind of a practice they can resume. Now, coming to the challenges before the young lawyers. Now, the first challenge which a young lawyer faces always is to deal with an apprehension in the mind that whether he or she will succeed in the profession, whether he or she will get sufficient work. There's always an apprehension in the mind of young lawyer that he may face even prospects of starvation. He always feels that how long he can remain, how long he can depend on his senior. And this happens especially to those who are not that privileged of having lawyers in the family. Those who are privileged, I also belong to that privileged class. I was born in a family of lawyers who practice in district courts. But those who are not privileged, they face a stiff challenge in this profession because this profession is very demanding. Profession demands not only hard work, but profession demands a lot of patience. And which is styled as the bar. In that chapter, he has given very, very valuable piece of advice to the young lawyers. What Justice Chagla has said in that chapter, he has basically said that, he has of course said that life in the bar for a junior lawyer is never easy. But he has said, he has given some kind of assurance to young lawyers that if you are prepared to work hard and if you are doing great deal of hard work and working with devotion, he has said that opportunity will come to every young lawyer. And when such opportunity comes, young lawyers should grab it with both hands. And what is more important, Chief Justice Chagla says that he must work with a zeal of crusader. He has also said about the legal profession, he says that nothing succeeds like a success in profession of law. He has compared the profession of law with the other professions. If you succeed in profession of law, you can deal with the subjects which a doctor can deal. You can deal with the subject with even engineer deals with. You can deal with the subject of accounting when you deal with the tax matters. So he has said nothing succeeds like a success in profession of law. And he has assured that success will come to each and every young lawyer, provided he is willing to work hard and provided he develops a right approach. So there is no reason for young lawyer to worry about his future if he is prepared to work hard and if he has right approach. In fact, that book is worth reading. Chief Justice N.C. Chagla worked as a junior lawyer with Sir Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was very renowned lawyer on the original side of the Bombay High Court at that time. And he has said in this book that how Sir Muhammad Ali Jinnah never inquired with him how he was able to make both ends meet. But he has complimented his senior by saying that his senior never gave him spoon feeding. And therefore, he was ever grateful to his senior because that ensured that he works very hard. And in absence of that spoon feeding, he had to work hard and succeed in the profession. Now, the second challenge before the members of the bar, especially young members of the bar, that they feel that there is stiff competition in the profession. Now, today, when I am addressing the young lawyers, because I belong to that generation, I am talking about legal practice as a traditional legal practice, a practice before the traditional courts like our trial courts, district courts, and high court. So they feel that the competition is very tough, and in this tough competition, whether they can adhere to the professional ethics and succeed. There again, I want to tell for the benefit of young lawyers that at least in prominent cities in our country, the legal profession is bound to prosper. I have been working as a judge for 17 years. I have been involved with various projects of assessing how the litigation is growing. In all major cities, you will find that litigation is growing. The numbers are growing. During last few years, the numbers of matrimonial litigations are multiplying. New kind of litigation is coming up. So never worry about the stiff competition. In fact, in a way, it is good that there is a stiff competition that will encourage the young lawyers to work harder and harder. So don't bother about stiff competition. If you are right aptitude and attitude, you are bound to succeed someday. Now, one more part of your success will be your approach. And when I talk about approach, my emphasis is strictly following the professional ethics. Because young lawyers must remember that you are not in a business, you are in a noble profession of law. And therefore, it is very important that you inculcate the habit of following the professional ethics very strictly. I must candidly admit that lot of talent is coming to law now. When I joined law course, everybody used to say that law is the last resort. Those who could not secure admission to other professional courses used to take to law. Of course, I must hasten to add that I am not one of those. It was my voluntary choice to opt for law, though I was getting admission in some professional courses. But that was the perception at that time. But today, I see young students opting for a degree course in law as a first option. And that is how I see the talent coming back to law. I see the performance of lawyers now that perform. I always compare them with myself as a young lawyer. And I must say that in terms of knowledge of law, the performance of young lawyers has greatly improved. But I must say where they are lacking. My experience as a judge for last more than 17 years is that most of the young lawyers forget that they are first officers of the court and then the mouthpiece of their respective clients. They are not able to understand that their first duty is to the court and then to their clients. There may be reasons why this kind of approach I see with the young lawyers. I was associated with the formation of Maharashtra National Law University, Mumbai, and I was closely associated uh, with that university till I became Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court. And I used to have interaction with the young law students who used to join that law school. In Maharashtra, we had three national law schools, one in Nagpur, one in Aurangabad, and Bombay. And I was part of setup of Nagpur also. So I used to go to those law schools. In fact, I used to deliver classroom lectures. I found that those law students who used to get enrolled in these law schools, they're very intelligent but very ambitious bunch of students. And uh, perhaps this sometimes this ambition affects the law students. They want to have very quick success. And therefore, in younger days, though they have very good knowledge of law, they have command over the language. They learn few skills of advocacy because they are exposed to these moot courts and mock trial competitions. But that built-in spirit of competition is there in younger members of the bar. And therefore, sometimes they don't follow the decorum. They don't follow the basic principles of professional ethics. So that is an area where young lawyers will have to improve because they have the talent, but they need a correct approach. These are the challenges which young lawyers face as part of their professional career. But today, I am on a bigger challenge before this young generation of lawyers. Now we have National Judicial Data Grid for the district and trial courts as well as high courts. All these younger lawyers are computer savvy. By clicking the button, some days spend some time by looking at the statistics which is available on the National Judicial Data Grid and see the kind of pendency our courts have. Now we have maybe Karnataka may be better, slightly better as compared to other bigger states in India when it comes to pendency. But still we have a huge pendency. Since we have huge pendency, even as the Chief Justice, I must admit that the pendency has direct correlation with denial of justice, or at least delay in dispensing justice. Now, the real challenge before the young professionals, young lawyers, is going to be to deal with this huge challenge of arrears. Only if we are able to deal with this huge challenge, that will be able to restore confidence of common man in the judiciary. There are cases involving liberties of individual. Even those cases are taking back seat because of huge arrears, and the pandemic has added to the arrears. We have to give priority to certain cases, and therefore you must have found in High Court. Now we have prioritized the cases like bail petitions, 482 petitions, where there's a concept of automatic listing. All those cases are being listed on third day or fourth day of filing. This is one way of tackling with the arrears. This is one way of giving some kind of a priority to the people who are in jail. And therefore, all of you must have found, not only in principal seat at Bangalore, but in Dharwad and Kalburgi also, somehow from June, we managed to ensure that one bench takes up criminal appeals for final hearing. These are only isolated cases which I am telling you, but generally, it's a huge challenge before the younger generation of lawyers to deal with the issue of arrears. If you go by statistics, due to this pandemic, we have gone back by a year when it comes to disposal of old cases. Now we have to clear the backlog which is created by a pandemic. And it's not a backlog created by pandemic. There is inherent backlog in our system. And that's the reason why now the young lawyers will have to stand up before this challenge and take up this challenge. Now, how do you take up this challenge? One way, of course, is to do your best when you appear before the court of law. Don't get involved in making irrelevant submissions. Don't repeat submissions before the court. Be fair to the court. If the law is against you, point out that law to the court. If you are practicing in the trial court, be fair when it comes to stating facts before the court. Be fair and be reasonable while making choice of witnesses who will be examined on behalf of your client. The other way, and very important way of meeting this challenge, is that some young lawyers must aspire to join judiciary. Last 10 years, in fact, whenever I go to law college, first thing I tell the young law students is that if you want to improve the system, if you want to improve the judiciary or legal system, some young, bright young students of law must develop ambition of joining judiciary. And for their benefit, one thing I want to tell, as compared to 70s and 80s and even 90s, maybe you are part of the setup of district court, maybe you are part of the high court. Considering the fact that you do public service, the remuneration which is offered for the post, the perquisites which are offered for the post are more than reasonable. I just want to give illustration to the young members of the bar, because the practice, as I said, is lucrative in our country in major cities. But if you go to taluks, if you go to some smaller districts, practice is not that lucrative. I was chairman of the recruitment committee of the Bombay High Court. So we did some exercise. We found out, after studying the pattern of these campus interviews which are held in leading engineering colleges. I'm talking about normal engineering colleges. We did not consider, top end colleges like IIT and other top end colleges, but normal good engineering colleges. We found that the pay package which is offered to a young engineer was ranging from, say, 25,000 to maximum 50 or 55,000. And thereafter, I always give example to young lawyers or young law students of this survey which we carried out. I always tell them, look, even if you don't have a single years of practice in law before the court, if you have completed 25 years of age, you may aspire to become a civil judge. And even today, of course, Supreme Court is on the verge of accepting the recommendations of the pay commission headed by Justice Reddy. But even today, a civil judge starts with pay packet of more than 50 or 55,000 with all the other perquisites like some petrol reimbursement, rent-free residence, etc. So as compared to 80s and 90s, the conditions of service in judiciary are far better. Of course, you can't compare the remuneration which you get as a judge with your income, with a income of a very successful professional, successful lawyer. But still, the remuneration which you get as a judge is quite reasonable considering the fact that you are in public service. And for the benefit of young lawyers, I must tell you, I have been a lawyer for 20 years and a judge for 17 years. I have said this on public platform very often. And I can tell you from my own experience is that the work satisfaction you get as a judge is simply uncomparable. You can't compare that work satisfaction with as you get as a lawyer. And I always tell the reason why it happens. The reason why it happens is when you are a lawyer, your performance is controlled by several factors. You may be facing a very hostile judge. You may be facing hostile opponent. You may be facing a hostile litigant, your own client. So your performance, gets affected by several factors. But when you sit as a judge, there is no one who controls you. You are controlled by the settled position of law and your own conscience. And that's why you get that satisfaction of rendering justice. And that kind of satisfaction you will not get when you are a member of the bar. Of course, I must say that I am not at all suggesting that every bright lawyer must offer career in judiciary, because we need a good bar also. In fact, I always tell the law students that if we want improvement of standard in our judiciary, we need good young lawyers, bright young lawyers. We need bright young judges. We need very competent law teachers. And lastly, we need good prosecutors and good law officers who work for the state and other public institutions. We need improvement of quality at all levels if you want to improve the performance of our judiciary. So my advice to my young lawyer friends is there are so many avenues which are open to you. You can prosper in practice. You can think of joining, you can shift of going to the other side and join bench. There are several avenues open before you. And the most important thing is to remember that if you are prepared to work hard, if you have right approach, the success will come to you. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, but it will come to you day after tomorrow. So please remember that. Today is Sunday. Today is not the time when I should encroach upon your quality time with your family. And therefore, before I end, I want to quote what Abraham Lincoln said about the young lawyers. He gave advice to young people who are about to join law. And I quote, "There is a vague popular belief that lawyers are necessarily dishonest. Let no young man choosing the law for a calling for a moment yield to popular belief. Resolve to be honest at all events. And if in your judgment you cannot be an honest lawyer, resolve to be honest without being a lawyer. This piece of advice which Abraham Lincoln gave to young law graduates applies today with all force. I wish a great success to young members of the bar. Mr. Abdul Kalam, late President of India, always used to say that he always has a hope with younger generation. In the same way, I have a great hope about these young, bright law graduates who are coming to the profession of law. With proper orientation, with proper approach, I'm sure that if this inflow of bright young lawyers to the profession of law continues, we'll see a great deal of improvement in our legal system when it comes to rendering justice to common man. I wish a great success to each and every young lawyer who has joined profession during last 5 years. I thank the Bar Association for giving me this opportunity to have interaction with younger members of the bar. 2 days back, Mr. Ranganath met me. He said that I should speak on some subject. He left the choice of subject to me. During this period of pandemic, I attended webinars of so many bar associations, so many law colleges. I have always spoken on some definite law. So I said that this is the opportunity to have one-to-one interaction with the young members of the bar, and therefore I have chosen this subject. So I thank all those who are present here this Sunday afternoon. Now the courts have started functioning, and still in large numbers, I can see figure exceeding 200. They have given their quality time for attending to this webinar. I thank everybody. I thank the organization, the organizers of this function. Thank you very much.
Please, my lords, many thanks for insightful and erudite presentation. With my lord's permission, can we take a few questions,
Yes.
please? The first question is by Ms. Nayantara. The question is, are there any systematic changes your lordships envision to make the legal fraternity more conducive for women advocates in general and young women in particular?
Yes, that's a very, very important question. Uh, I must candidly say that, as an institution, I don't think we have made any systematic effort to encourage young women law graduates to enter the profession, not only to enter the profession, but to succeed in the profession. And we need to do some work in this area. In fact, I was administrative judge for family courts in Maharashtra. I found some of the young women lawyers doing a phenomenal job in family courts. In fact, as a executive chairman of the Legal Services Authority, I found some of them had taken to counseling also. Though they were practicing lawyers, they're doing counseling to litigants coming to them. So it's a good question. I'll keep this in mind and I'll see what I can do for the young women lawyers.
Please, my lords. The next question is by Mr. Ashwin Nair from Delhi. As a young first generation lawyer, what we get most disheartened is when we see nepotism in the profession. Nepotism in our profession is a reality. What can be done to curb it?
Firstly, as I said a few minutes back, I have practiced law for 20 years. And I really can't deny the difficulties faced by young lawyers, especially those who do not have family background in law. Whether there is nepotism or not is a different thing. But for the benefit of this young friend, I must tell you, there are success stories of several young lawyers who had no family backing. There are a great deal of success stories. So if your perception is that there's nepotism in the profession, I mean, don't get bogged down by that. Don't get too much worried about it. As Chief Justice Chagla said, if you are prepared to do hard work, opportunity will come to you also. So don't get unduly worried. Because this is a phenomenon which exists for long time in our system. And therefore, you may feel that there's a nepotism, but I mean, remove that kind of impression for your mind and concentrate on working hard.
Please, my lords. I'll be unmuting Ms. Nayantara. She has a question. Yes, you are unmuted, madam.
I thank your lordships for this reassurance by way of this talk. My question was already asked, where your lordships expressed that much will be done for the improvement of the legal fraternity with regard to women advocates. I thank your lordships for this erudite and reassuring talk.
I'll be unmuting Mr. DLN Rao, Senior Advocate. Yes, sir, you are unmuted. Sir, this question, it would be appropriate. Sir, you are not unmuted. We are not able to hear you. I've just given you that option. You're still not unmuted, sir. Yes, sir, you are unmuted.
Before I ask any question, sir, I should say that we all have great admiration for you, sir, because the way you have handled this team of yours during pandemic, it's a great work. Now, my question is how to improve this institution where the lawyers and judges are two sides of the same coin. Is it not advisable to have at least in one quarter, at least 4 times in a year, to have interaction among lawyers and judges? A group of lawyers and a group of judges keep interacting to know how the system can be improved, how the profession can be improved. They will tell us what are their expectations. We tell them what are our expectations. Is it advisable to have such kind of an interaction at least once in a quarter, sir?
Sir, I mean, this suggestion, I can only say suggestion is worth accepting. And I'll see in what manner I can implement as far as Karnataka is concerned. It's a very good idea. I mean, that's the way to get feedback from the lawyers and to understand where we are going wrong. I mean, surely in some form, I definitely implement it. I work with my senior colleagues because actually this will give us the correct feedback. We'll surely do that. Maybe after there's some improvement in the situation, surely this deserves to be done. In some form, we'll definitely do it.
Yes, I'm grateful to you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Neha has this question, my lords. What is the one important quality a young lawyer should imbibe?
I cannot answer in single line. It can't be only one quality, it's a combination of various qualities. But if I had to highlight only one quality, it will be a quality consists of combination of hard work and dedication. These are it's actually two sides of the same coin, hard work and dedication. This is the basic quality which every young lawyer should possess.
Please, my lords.
And one clarification. You know, when I was a junior lawyer, I used to always hear from my seniors, you know, in our days, we used to work so hard. The present day young lawyers are not working hard. But I can share this with you. I mean, the approach of every young generation of lawyers will be different. But I don't believe in this, that lawyers who started practicing 35 years back, they work more hard and junior lawyers are not working hard. I mean, that's the way, you know, older generation looks at younger generation. So when I say this, that hard work and dedication are the most important qualities, I am not suggesting that all the young lawyers are not working hard. They are working hard.
Please, my lords. Mr. Puttige Ramesh has a question. In 1983, High Court used to keep scanned copies of every judgment in the judge's library so that the advocates who could go through them whether or not they are reported. Can that system be restored?
Uh, oh, that was the tradition in Karnataka High Court. Sir, but yes, in those days it was a very good practice. That practice was not followed in by Bombay High Court. But now, of course, every judgment is available on public domain. Now that is no longer required because you have to just click and you get. And on some of these law reports, now they are updating their websites every night with the latest judgment. So that requirement may not be there now, but in those days it was, of course, a very ideal practice. Now, what needs to be done? Perhaps we are working on that. I mean, we are some citizen or lawyer-centric services High Court has to render. Yesterday, we have launched one like e-certified copy. What we need to improve is the search on our website. We have to see whether we can give improve our search so that even subject-wise search can be available, where the lawyers can have access to unreported judgments on specific subjects. We are working on that on upgradation of website. But that is taking time because there are too many things which we have started at a single point of time.
Please,
Yes.
one last question. I'll be unmuting Ms. Rupa Shri. Yes, madam, you are unmuted.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, though I completed law 15 years back, I started active practice only 5 years ago. My question is, though there are lawyers in the family, there's a lot of pressure on people who have fathers or mothers as senior counsels. There is a lot of pressure and comparison and responsibility on us to do as well as the seniors. How do you think we can handle this situation, sir?
See, basically, you are talking about those who come from the lawyer's family.
Yes.
And expectations are different. See, I mean, you must look at it very constructively. One is that when you are lucky to be born in lawyer's family, when you join profession, you start with great advantage. You have advantageous starts in your life as a lawyer. And when you get that great advantage of being part of the lawyer's family, now this is a challenge, this is a price you have to pay, and you have to face that challenge. That if your father or mother is a very eminent lawyer, a litigant who comes to you or the other lawyers in the profession, they are bound to compare you with one of your parents who has been a successful lawyer. But that is the price you have to pay for, firstly, for being born in the lawyer's family, and secondly, after being born in lawyer's family, joining legal profession. Price you have to pay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the inspiring words.
One last question for the day, my lords. Mr. Deepak has this question. Conceptual learning in law schools required or not? Law colleges are not following this pattern of conceptual learning.
See, I have, though I'm not an academician, I was associated with Maharashtra National Law University. That is how I got in touch with many academicians. In fact, I had great privilege of working with Dr. Madhava Menon. He was part of our setup of Maharashtra National Law University. And in meetings, after the meetings or before the meetings, I used to have interactions with him. I used to interact with many other vice chancellors of other national law universities. Though I'm not an academician, the impression which I carry is, you talked about conceptualization. You know, we don't have a standard curriculum in our law colleges. The curriculum differs, the concept of law education differs, the emphasis in our law courses differ. I have seen that. I have visited many law colleges across the country. I had interacted with the law teachers, but everybody has a different approach. some effort was made at one point of time. I really do not know what happened to that. At the level of these national law schools, our present Chief Justice, Justice Bobde, being Chancellor of the 3 national law universities in Maharashtra, he had taken an initiative, and he had convened a meeting of all vice chancellors of all national law schools in Delhi. I think Professor Madhava Menon was also to attend that meeting. The idea was to bring rationalization and uniformity in approach in legal education, and therefore, in fact, the concept of conceptualization is also differs from law college to law college, from university to university. So this is a very gray area in the field of legal education. For academicians now, take a call on this, especially when the talent is coming back to the law courses. Yes, any other question?
Apparently, a law student has a question. I would like to mention it before your lordships. Mr. Nakul Changappa has this question. Sir, in the light of this pandemic, what are the takeaways for the young law students who are only exposed to online platforms from their very first year?
There are really, as everything has two sides, there are two sides of it. I attended a webinar of one of the law colleges in New Bombay. The webinar was conducted by law students. So one of the law students said that, sir, it's a great opportunity because now a young lawyer can attend to several courts on one day. He can attend to a sessions court, argue bail application. He can argue a matter before the High Court, or for that matter, more than one High Court. So that is one advantage of this new system of hearing through video conference. Somebody will say that I'm wrong, but I'm saying this on my personal experience. We almost replaced at one point of time in High Court, we replaced regular court hearing by this. And there the young lawyers are at loss, young budding lawyers, because my personal experience is that the best training which a young law graduate gets, not in law college, but by throughout attending the court proceedings. But that is how he learns the intricacies of law practice before the court. This is how he learns so many skills. And during this pandemic, this younger generation of lawyers were deprived of this great law school which teaches you art of advocacy. You can learn that only when you see physical appearance of many senior lawyers, for that matter, junior lawyers. By attending virtual hearings, I don't think younger lawyers get that learning experience. So that is due to this virtual hearing. I think this is a loss to the younger generation of lawyers. They are missing that kind of education which normally they are entitled to.
Please, my lords. Before we wind up today's session, may I now request Mr. Uday Holla, Senior Advocate, to share a few words.
I can only say this, being a lawyer whose father and grandfather was a lawyer, I did not have the privilege of being doted upon. And I started my career with probably, less money in my pocket as a student. I mean, more money in my pocket as a student than as a lawyer. And I'm grateful to my father because he gave me only 50 rupees. And I had to sell first day covers because I didn't have money in my pocket as a lawyer. He also did not give me cases because he thought that I must struggle and come up. And possibly that's an advice that Rupashri or her parents, should probably imbue, put her into the sea or into the swimming pool. She'll start learning. She'll start swimming. That's what happened to me. And there was a time, as Justice Oak also said, Chief Justice Oak said, there was a time when I thought I will leave the profession, and I requested my mother to ask her brother, who was a chairman of a bank, to give me a job of a clerk. That was the desperation because I didn't have money. But then that struggle taught me greater values in life and imbued greater values in me than all that richness that I have earned over these years. And possibly that is what is needed. Hard work, poverty teaches you much, much better values than anything else. That's all that I can say, adding to what Justice Oak said all along. So my advice to young lawyers is, please don't get frustrated. Law, if you work hard, sky is the limit. And please remember, as Justice Chagla in his memoir writes in that Roses in December, when Palkiwala came into the profession, one of the greatest of lawyers that India ever had, he did not have work. He went to Justice Chagla, who was the Chancellor of the Bombay University. He said, "Sir, can I use the library or the university?" And Chagla says, he was so thrilled that a young budding lawyer who has come into the profession has asked permission to use the library. That is what younger lawyers must do. Acquire knowledge at a time when you don't have work. Sit in the court halls, as Chief Justice Oak said. When you sit in the court hall, examine, find out how the seniors argue. If you remember, I can only say this. When I bowl a leg spin or an off spin, the batsman sends my ball to a sixer. When Hon'ble bowls, he is out. Why? Because there's a change in technique. That is what younger lawyers must do. Examine the techniques that the seniors, how they argue. I'm sure you will imbue far greater things than anything else that others would teach you. That is why Chief Justice said, when you have court sessions, you sit there, examine the seniors. That gives you great learning experience. That's all that I can say. To the younger members of the bar, you have a great future. Never ever, in fact, Justice Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, who was another great doyen of the bar of India, and who was a part of the Constituent Assembly, he also did not have work. Struggle came up. I'm sure that is what is needed. As Chief Justice Oak said, hard work and dedication. You will reach the sky. Sky is the limit. There's tremendous amount of scope at the higher echelons of the profession. You have every success. And today, as Chief Justice said, you are all doubly blessed. When I came to the bar, typewriter was the best machine. And we used to type and type and type. How many times can you type? Today, you have computers, and we used to read and read. Today, at the press of the button, you can do the research. So you're all doubly blessed. Make the best use of it. That is all that I can say. Thank you very, very much. And I'm extremely grateful that Chief Justice Oak has given so many ideas to all of you. You must bear that in mind and go ahead in life. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Time to wind up our today's session. May I now request Mr. A.N. Gangadharaya, Secretary, Advocates Association, Bengaluru, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Ends are not bad things. They just mean that something else is about to begin. I would like to extend my profound thanks to His Lordship, Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay Shreeniwas Oka, Chief Justice, High Court of Karnataka, for His Lordship's eloquent presentation and advice to the bar. We are indeed much indebted to you. Thank you so much, my Lord. Thank you very much, Lord. I also like to take this opportunity to thank all other honorable judges, judicial officers, learned senior counsels DLN Rao, Sri Udayavalla and Sri Jan Chinnappa and all other senior counsels were on the panel and the viewing this webinar. I profoundly thank Mr. M.B. Nargund, Additional Solicitor General of Union of India, to be present here. I thank Bar Council Chairman Anil Kumar, Chairman of KSPC, to present before this presentation. I also thank KSPC member Gautam Chand to be here. Learned members of the bar, law students, and all other participants, I wholeheartedly thank you all. I would be failing in my duty if I don't thank all the participants who have been encouraging us from day to day in their presence, such as S. Natarajan Gupta, Harish, Putige Ramesh, and so many others who are part of our webinars. Thank you all, sir. I feel it will be incomplete if I don't acknowledge the service of Trivikram, who has moderated these webinars so far. I did a wonderful job. Thank you very much, Trivikram. I also thank the engineers Sri Abhishek and Akash, who has extended full technical support to this webinar series. I thank you them. I am happy to express vote of thanks to our President A.P. Ranganath, who is instrumental in this, and to our Treasurer Shivamurthy, and all the respected Governing Council members of the bar and AAB. Thank you very much. I sincerely thank all the senior members who guided us in this endeavor. We expect more support from them. We have made this webinar a grand success. I owe this success to all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you, my Chief Justice, once again. Thank you very much, sir.
My Lord's permission now, can we sign off today's session?
Yes.
Please.